first of all to say we're not talking about the crimes of Israel tonight. We're taking that as a given, as the basis for why we're talking about boycott. I want to distinguish three things before I start talking about boycott. There are three terms that are too often confused: Jew, Israeli, Zionist. You can be a Jew without being an Israeli or a Zionist. You can be an Israeli without being a Jew or a Zionist. You can be a Zionist without being a Jew or an Israeli. Me, I'm a Jew. Why am I a Jew? Because my mother was a Jew. It's a very sensible religion. It doesn't trust my father. It doesn't trust my mother. But I'm not an Israeli, and as I think will become clear, I'm not a Zionist. Israelis. 22% of Israelis are of Palestinian origin. They're not Jewish. I've never yet met one who's a Zionist. There may be one somewhere, but you can basically rule out them. You can be an Israeli without being a Jew or a Zionist. You can be a Zionist without being a Jew or an Israeli. Much of the funding for the American Republican Party comes from Christian Zionists. You thought the Jewish Zionists were scary. These Christian Zionists are far, far worse. These are people who have read the last book of the Christian Bible, Book of Revelation, written by St. John the Divine. I don't know what he was on, but if I get hold of some, I'd love it. It's great poetry, it's awful theology and worse politics. That's the stuff for end times and the four horsemen of the apocalypse in 666. Now these Christian Zionists believe that for the end times to come and for the rapture, where they're all going to be lifted up out of their clothes and go naked into heaven. And since they have this real problem with sexuality, I don't know what that's going to do with them. But they believe for the end times to come, all the Jews must be gathered into Israel so they can all die. You don't tell the Jewish Zionists that, and that's why they support them. Anyway, those are the people who are Zionists, they're not Israeli, and they're not Jewish. So we're talking about Zionism and ideology and the acts of the Israeli state. We're not talking about Jews. We're talking about Ronnie and me. And we have to be careful, because if we fall over into the trap of anti-Semitism, our enemies will exploit it. What's the role of Israeli universities? Universities in every country are the research and development arm of the state. That's true here, that's true in Denmark, that's true in Poland, that's true in Israel. The nature of the state is what gives rise to the problem with Israeli universities. It's a corrupt and illegal state that oppresses at its day-to-day existence. And we are not talking about an individual boycott, we're talking about an institutional boycott. It's very important. Those of us who are old enough to have been around when we talk about the South African boycott will know the knots we tied ourselves into, trying to decide which individuals should be boycotted and which individuals passed our London-based test for purity. We didn't have the moral authority to make that decision. It's the institutions in which people work that gives rise to the problem. It's about how institutions give meaning to action. It's all new institutionalist theory if you want to go down that road. I do in my work, but I won't do that tonight. But I'm not saying that an individual academic is to be boycotted. William Lamb Pape or Haim Rashid, as Israeli academic, comes to work in England because they can't work in Israel. They're not to be boycotted. If an Israeli supporter of the state works in a London university, they're not to be boycotted. If an American works in an Israeli university, they become part of the boycott. It's not about religion, it's not about nationality, it's about being part of institutions that work as Ben described. It's not about academic freedom. We're not telling people what they can write, what they can believe, what they can be argued for. We'll leave that to the Israelis, who are trying to shut down the politics department of Ben Gurion University because it says the wrong things. That's the attack on academic freedom, not the boycott. It doesn't mean I won't read papers by Israeli academics, but I will not invite them to my university. I will not publish in their journals. I will not attend conferences in Israel. I will not attend conferences organised by Israeli universities. That's the boycott. It's not how I deal with individuals, it's how I deal with institutions that are firmly locked into the structures of a criminal state. And it's about research collaborations. The movement in Britain started because of the EU's promotion of joint research work with Israeli universities. This has become institutionalised in something called the European Research Area. Area I understand, research I understand. European gives me problems in this context because all the other states in this area are either European states that are members of the EU or hopefully on the road to membership. And I was never very good at geography at school. Got thrown out of it because I wasn't good at drawing maps. I still remember, if you look at a map of the Mediterranean, you've got Europe here, you've got Africa there, you've got Asia there. You've got Israel in the middle of Asia. Now, unless they found some way of dragging Israel off of the east coast of the Mediterranean and moving it to the south coast, it's not part of Europe. So why is it part of the European Research Area? Not just part of the European Research Area, it's part of the UEFA, it's part of Eurovision, which means part of the Eurovision Song Contest, which of course is enough punishment for any state. But being part of the European Research Area means to have access to joint collaborations with British, with Dutch, with Italian universities. What those of us who do research know is one of the problems is how you get your research moved from its local context and made usable elsewhere. The best way to do that is by joint research projects. So people work with your research and make it usable for local areas. By being in research collaborations with Israel, you make our research available to Israel to strengthen their armed forces, to strengthen our economy, to strengthen the occupation, to strengthen oppression. And what you must all do, whether you work in university or not, is be lobbying your European MEPs to say, end Israel's participation in the European research area. It's a key priority. How many people here work in or are students at the moment in universities? Well, that's lots of you. You've got jobs to do on your campus. Research what your university is doing with Israeli universities. The EU make this helpful. They have a database called Cordis. Put it in Google, you'll find it. And you can find out what your university is doing. Put pressure on the individuals who are in this collaboration to do what the Danes did and break the links. Work to get policies in your university, through your student union, through your academic board, through your trade union to say, we will not be part of research collaborations with Israel because it strengthens illegal oppression. And it's, how much more have I got? 2 minutes. Oh, I'm not going to use it all. Let's go. I've just got 3 questions for you to finish with. If not this, what? If not now, when? And if not us, who?